Good evening, ma'am. My name is Donisa Plan. This is my discussion. I started with letter D. DILG. Full devolution to happen with issuance of EO 138. The DILG said EO 138 is a leap towards the provision of a more responsive and accountable local government structure institute through a system of decentralization whereby local government units shall be given more powers, authority, responsibilities, and the corresponding financial resources. Provinces, cities, and first to third class municipalities of who have more capacity will enjoy more autonomy in managing their resources. The DILG will then focus and assist fourth to sixth class municipalities so they will be better equipped to carry out the additional functions and services devolved to them. He said, in 1991, the local government could mandate the devolution of basic services to LGUs. This was anchored on the premise that LGUs are in a better position to address the needs of their constituents and can therefore deliver better services. However, full devolution was never achieved because the funds necessary to implement full devolution were never fully downloaded to LGUs. A committee on devolution will also be created to oversee and monitor the implementation of administrative and fiscal decentralization goals of the EU. Resolve issues and concerns that may arise in the implementation of the EU. Ensure the elimination of any regulatory or fiscal control on the autonomic release of LGU shares, and adopt mechanism to ensure the continuous delivery of public service by national government agencies and LGUs, among others. The DILG Secretary will serve as co-chairperson of the COMDEB together with the Secretary of the Department of Budget and Management, DBM. Among the committee members are the Socioeconomic Planning Secretary, the Secretary of Finance, the Executive Secretary, and the Presidents of the Leagues of Provinces, Cities, and Municipalities of the Philippines, the Liga ng Barangay ng Pilipinas, and the Union of Local Authorities of the Philippines. Preparation for this fundamental change in governance. Anyo urged provincial governors, city and municipal mayors, and punong barangays to formulate their capacity development agenda and devolution transition plans. The DILG, DBM, and Bureau of Local Government Finance of the DOF, on the other hand, shall include public financial management processes such as local planning, investment programming, resource mobilization, and budgeting in the capacity development of the LGUs to ensure that the allocation of the revenue allotment for basic services and facilities is in accordance with the Local Government Code of Republic Act number 7160 and other relevant laws. A. Philippines Case Study. 3 decades of devolution in the Philippines. How this has shaped health financing and public financial management. Data for the Philippines was mainly collected through this review. Supplement with expert interviews. This review entailed a purposeful review of documents and data that could be accessed online including grey literature from the local or national governments, international organizations, development assistance projects, and peer review literature. Literature. When source lack LGU-specific information or examples, we sought information from stakeholders from Antique and Guimaras. The two partner provinces obtained will in its strategic purchasing for primary health care project in the Philippines through key information interviews with local experts. Results of this review were also validated with a mix of experts that focus on the country's health financing and overall health system Annex 1. Given the complexity and the diversity of the country's PFM structure, the financing presented here are not intended to comprehensively capture all subnational practice and policies. Instead, the information presented from the national and local levels illustrate some of the current realities, variabilities across the country, and reform trajectories and opportunities. The LGC, as well as the succeeding policies that follow, result in a health sector composed of many autonomous local health systems run by provinces, municipalities, and cities, but with weak ties to the DOH. Figure shows the current organizational structure of the health systems and the different units retained by the DOH as well as those devolved to the LGUs. The DOH coordinate with the different LGUs at the provincial, municipal, and city levels through its regional departments. However, these levels of decentralized governance are fully autonomous, unlike the previous district health system structure, leaving DOH's regional office which little influence on health expenditure and the way these resources are allocated at the local level. Kapuno, Ribadineria, and Besley et al. 2018. The health functions that were devolved to the LGUs include authority and responsibility for local health facilities and the direct provision and management of health services such as public health programs, promotive and preventive health care, divert, Lagarda and Picasso at et al. 2018, Cuenca 2018. In terms of organization, elective local chief executives, LCs, govern each LGU. Each local government has a local health board, LHB, chaired by the LCE with representatives from the DOH through DOH provincial health teams. The LHB functions as an advisory board to the LCE and the local legislative council on health-related matters. Table to summarize the different levels of government and their devolved health services and responsibilities as per LGC, although there may be devolved health functions by level of government. Improvements in health outcomes and performance of healthcare facilities and health workers at the local level have shown marked variation across LGUs. After the devolution of Health Service DOH 2012, some LGUs have largely failed to adapt to their devolved functions and accountabilities in their new responsibilities, leaving some local health facilities poorly equipped and poorly staffed. Studies on the initial implementation of devolution from 1998 to 1999 have shown that many province and smaller municipalities had insufficient funds to pay the salaries of the national workers delegate to them. The cost of implementing the Magna Carta for Public Health Worker, 8, which came after devolution, was also not factored in the estimation of costs of devolved functions. Although some financial support was provided by the DOH to ensure that the Magna Carta was implemented, these were eventually scrapped in succeeding administrations. Aside from financial reasons, other factors also contribute to constraints in health and human resources. For instance, midwives were forced to resign because they were displaced or moved away from their place or residence, or worse, transferred to the mountains. These circumstances were partly attributed to political difference between the current LCS and health staff. As a result, major gaps in the quantity, quality, and distribution of essential health services at the local level have become persistent concerns of both the national and local governments. The fragmentation of the healthcare delivery system most severely, more dividity and mortality, lack of health facilities and health professionals, and poor logistical support, resulting in poor access to quality health care. DOH 2004, Lagarda and Picasso et al. 2018. After devolution, several major policy reforms were enacted to meet the continued financing challenge of the health sector. Various reform agendas spearheaded by the DOH were sought both to address issues that have been encountered post-devolution, as well as to attain UHC, the establishment of the National Health Insurance Program, NHIP, in 1995, and the creation of the Philippines Health Insurance Corporation, PhilHealth, became a mechanism to collect additional revenues for health. This also diversified payment for health services from one that was purely budget financed and publicly delivered to one that is demand driven through both private providers and public providers. Various reform agendas spearheaded by the DOH were sought to address issues that have been encountered post-devolution and to attain UHC. The passage of the Sin Tax Law in 2012 increased the earmarked fiscal space for health and ensured sustainability of PhilHealth's coverage expansion for vulnerable sectors, including beneficiaries of the government's conditional cash transfer program of the Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino program, established in 2008 to provide social development and assistance. Also at the national level, there have been broader reforms in terms of PFN and social welfare. More recently, the Philippines hit another milestone and furthered its opportunity to achieve UHC with the passage of the UHC Act 10 with relevant policies and operational details currently ongoing development. The next section of this case studies discusses the current health financing landscape of the Philippines, along with the different PFM issues and challenges posed. The implementation of the sin tax law on cigarette and alcohol contribute to a hug increase in national tax revenues allocated to health. A hug jump of 30.5 billion at the national level can be observed in 2014 with passage of the sin tax law of 2012 figure 80% of total sin tax collections are earmarked for health, while the remaining 20% are allocated for tobacco producing farms. Of the collections earmarked for health, 80% go to PhilHealth premium subsidies for indigents identified by the National Household Targeting System for Poverty Reduction NHTS does PR, and 20% to DOH medical assistance and the health facilities enhancement program HFEP DOH 2015. Before, local governments were encouraged to sponsor indigents into the program, offering them possible reimbursement payments or capitation from PhilHealth. The implementation of premium subsidies allocated from sin tax collection effectively minimized the role of LGUs in offering subsidies for the poor. F. Decentralization in the Philippines and overview. With the Philippines spread across a chain of islands, government services are highly decentralized, but technical challenges and questions of jurisdiction remain. France is supporting the Philippines government in its development and implementation of reforms that enhance the autonomy of local governments and strengthen the bureaucracy. Multiple levels of government. In an archipelago of more than 7,600 islands, decentralized power is a keystone to development, but many reforms are needed to achieve effective governance of the Philippines. Different levels of government. There are 18 regions, 81 provinces, and 145 major cities, towns, and barangays, and administrative and political division the size of a neighborhood. The regions aspire to greater autonomy. Two already have their own system of government, which takes into account indigenous populations' desire for greater control. Elsewhere, the job of decentralization remains incomplete, and resources are unevenly allocated across regions. Jurisdictions are sometimes unclear. EFD and the ASEAN Development Bank have provided funding for public policy programs that support a process of technical decentralization that has been unfolding for the past 10 years. Thus far, two reforms programs have been complete and a third is a progress. The Seal of Good Local Governance is an incentive program designed to promote best practice in local governance, including preparation for natural disasters. Other reforms have succeeded in improving collection procedures for property taxes, implementing training for new local representatives, and creating a citizen satisfaction index. Political decentralization focus on the devolution of powers to specific local governmental units covering a specific area. Administrative decentralization as operationalized in the Philippines mostly includes the deconcentration of the national planning and administration function to the regional level. G. Local Governance Survey in the Philippines, Planning and Development Coordinator version. 1. Government officials and capacity development opportunity. Developing the capacity of government officials is key to improving governmental performance. At the local level, Kapuno 2011, the Department of Interior and Local Government DILG has published its annual local government performance management systems LGPMS report every year since 2009. The LGPM is defined the local government's performance using the following five categories: administrative governance, economic governance, social governance, bulbing fundamentals of governance, and environmental governance. Performance of local government is an governance and environmental governance. Performance of local government is an integral part of overall governance performance. It is important to know to what extent the Planning and Development Coordinator (PDC) is given the opportunity to develop. In this survey, we asked about the frequency of attending seminars, workshops, for capacity development purpose within the past years. About 12% of the respondents did not attend any seminars, workshops in the past years, while 11% attended 1, 15% attended 2, and 62 attended more than 2. In total, more than 90% of the respondents attended at least one seminar or workshop in the past years. Many of the seminars, workshops were organized and hosted by central agencies, the League of Local Planning and Development Coordinators of the Philippines, LLPD-CPI, or donor agencies, PDCs, working for local government in rural areas may attend less often because the seminars workshops tend to be held in the bigger cities. We check for the differences in attendance rates between PDCs from cities and municipalities, but did not find any that were statistically significant. However, capacity development cannot be characterized based on seminar workshop attendance alone. It is closely connected with the intellectual networks of each PDC as well as his or her career, and a government strategy plan is a long-term vision of where a municipality wants to be in the future, as well as the steps it will take to get there. The strategic plan serves as the roadmap in prioritizing objectives and initiatives, as well as the first steps in creating a solid plan is to open the lines of communication. Include your staff, managers and directors, city council and citizens. You'll want to engage your staff as much as possible to know your plan, focus on the right initiatives, Without everyone on board from the beginning, the strategy is likely doomed. So once you're established great communication, you're ready to start in on the five main elements of the citywide plan. Your city missions is the foundation of the plan. It shows what you do for the city, community, and citizens. This is a step that some people don't take seriously, but this is the main building block that will keep you focused. From this point forward, we'd recommend that you look around at other municipalities that you are respect or admire and find some things that you really like from them. Then take those components and some of your own and come together with your staff and citizens to see if any or all of those components echo what they want to see. Finally, with all of this information in mind, you can finalize your core mission. All in all, the core mission should be a mix of some things your municipality is now and some things you want to become in the future. Everything else in your city strategic plan will need to tie back this. So be sure it isn't so specific and try to keep it concise. Everyone from employees to citizens need to understand how they fit into the city's strategy plan. If you involve your staff and citizen in steps 1 to 3, this fourth step is so much easier. First, understand that people need to be able to explain your strategic plan back to you in very simple terms to ensure its effectiveness. A really good example of this comes from a staff meeting I recently sat in on. I saw that someone from the fire department who wasn't the fire chief was presenting. He was third or fourth in command. He explained how the different the department fit within the strategic plan of the city in very simple terms, demonstrating a strong knowledge of the subject. Local government planning establish land use patterns that can last for hundreds of years. Regional growth strategies and official community plans are some of the tools used by municipalities and regional districts when planning their communities. Each promoting good local governance through performance based grants. What did the commitments seek to achieve and why is this important? The government of the Philippines decided the best way to encourage openness was to reward it. Therefore, for good local governance, incentivize the two pillars of strong, responsive government, good performance and good housekeeping, and makes the award process open and transparent. In line with the Aquino administration's aims for good governance, the Department of the Interior and Local Government DILG launched launched two programs that seek to promote and incentivize it at the local level. The Sale of Good Housekeeping and the Performance Challenge Fund. How did you know about implementing the commitment? Who were the key advocates both within and outside of government during the implementation phase? The Sale of Good Housekeeping assesses local government units, LGUs, on whether they attain minimum governance standards. In the initial phase of the program, LGUs must meet two standards to be conferred with the sale of good housekeeping. First, the LGU must comply with full disclosure policy by posting budgetary documents online and their bulletin boards. Second, the LGU must have no serious negative finding in its annual audit report published by the Commission on Audit. As a means of providing incentives for LGUs, LGUs must receive the sale to receive a grant from the New Performance Challenge Fund, PCF. Local government units that receive the sale of provided with a performance-based grant which they can use to supplement funding for local development projects. The PCF program provides a subsidy of 1 million for municipalities, 3 million and 7 million for provinces projects. To be funded must contribute to the attainment of the Millennium Development Goals, tourism and local economic development, disaster risk reduction and management, and solid waste management. While the grants may not be that big, they go a long way in extending assistance for development projects, especially for low-income municipalities and cities that have indicate funds to provide services and projects that have been devolved to them by a participatory governance the Philippines experience. The Philippines is currently undergoing economic, social, political, and cultural transformation, which can be attributed to globalization, decentralization, and rapid urbanization. Decentralization in particular has brought about changes as well as changes that local government units LGUs must address. Since the enactment of the Local Government Code 12 years ago, the Department of the Interior and Local Government DILG has consistently promote autonomy and accelerates in local governance through capacity development, international internation to LGUs, the logs of local governments, the private sector, including civil society organizations, local and international development agencies, local resource institutions, and other stakeholders of local governance have actively supported the department's programs. Similar LGUs in the country have demonstrate good local governance practice. However, many best practice and tools for good governance implementation of the local government code in the Philippines has brought challenges to the local government units and elected officials in the country. It has provided the opportunity for local communities and officials to be creative and bring out the best in them. Local governance is now the focus of concern and has scope and attention not only researchers but also of development planners. and allocated social and political standpoints. How well is our local governance doing? Is participatory local governance an empirical reality, or is it mere rhetoric? What data are available choosing that indeed participatory local governance and effective factors contribute to the success of participatory local governance practice? Kapalang tutulan. Secretary Lina note that a large majority of the LGUs claim that they had improved their capacity. Excuse me ma'am, inom sa tubig ma'am. They had also developed internal rules of procedure and local revenue codes. They had formulated acceptable service delivery standards and organized lupong tagal or security councils. However, only one half of the LGUs had data bank system, and few had computer-based financial management systems, environment and investment codes, locally initiated health service, and economic enterprises. The DILG secretary note that only one-fifth of the LGUs had eroded economic programs because the cumbersome processes in the local bureaucracies made it difficult to attend. Brand local economies, thus he pledged to address the problem of red tape in local sovereignment during his term as secretary. Although people's participation is a core strategy of the local government's code, the DILG secretary admitted that this had rate to be fully optimized. Stakeholders, instead of being adversaries, the civil society has developed more critical collaboration and engagement with the LGU Secretary Leng. Some of the significant change absent among the LGUs in their manner of managing their local facilities at follows from depende to self-reliance. 2. From traditional routine to embracing innovations. 3. From process and structure to performance and result. And 4. From individualism to alliance building. In their intention to be more responsive and efficient, the LGUs and local communities have reportedly experimented on a number of innovations. Over 400 cases and models of effective local governance have been documented by the Local Government Academy and Agawad Galing Pook Awards, a non-government foundation that was funded by the Ford Foundation in the following thematic areas: fighting poverty, promoting excellence in urban. G. Toward greater local democratical introduction, advantage, and risk. Local democracy is intended to ensure that local policies reflect the needs and preferences of local communities. Effective local democracy can facilitate public participations, improve service delivery, strengthen communities, and improve development outcomes. However, excessive localization can result in patchy and fragmented services delivery, especially where powers granted to local authorities outstrip the capacity of local authorities to deliver. Localization of power can also create local oligarchies or local autocracy in which unaccountable powers are exercised without real democratic approach. The constitutionalizing local democracy. General approach in addressing local democracy in a constitution. Constitution builders will typically face three challenges. First, they need to find an appropriate and workable balance between A. Public demands for local democracy. B. The practicality of local democracy in terms of efficiency, capacity, and resources. And C. Countervailing demands for unity, uniformity, and resource sharing. Second, the need to ensure that local government is democratic and does not merely result in transfer of power to an unrepresentative, unresponsive, and unaccountable local elites. Third, they need to express the principles and institutions of local democracy in the text of the Constitution in a way that balance A. The need to protect local autonomy from the centralizing tendencies of national governments with B. A need for flexibility and responsiveness to adapt to changing needs, demands, and circumstances. To address these issues, many constitutions contain a specific chapter or series of articles on local democracy. This may include provisions establishing the structures of local democracy, providing for local elections, and sometimes for local referendums and other forms of public participation, and conferring powers and duties on local authorities. However, the extent to which local democracy is constitutionally specified and embedded as opposed to being regulated only by ordinary law varies between countries. In this regard, three broad categories. Thank you, Ma'am.